Okay, hello everybody. Just a couple seconds getting set up here. There we go. Okay, and I'm just gonna wait. I've got one person, the person who requested this, so I'm gonna wait for her to show up. But I will explain just to start with. I haven't done one of these in a while, so hi Diana. We're just getting started, and uh, these clearings started with a session on someone back in last fall, and it really showed up in her session that there was so much in the land where she lived that of dead people still being hanging out, from all the warfare that had gone on for hundreds and hundreds of years. And so a lot of people stuck, and that was really impacting her as well as everybody there. So that was Scotland, actually. And of course, there's always the piece that we address within ourselves as to why this is impacting us. Why are we letting in what is not ours? But then there's also this other piece of there's still all the dead people that are hanging out and during battle, getting killed or whatever, in 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 ways. And in the death process, most people have not been very good at, haven't known how to really let go and transition for those who are dying as well as those who are uh, still alive and not knowing how to let go. So that causes the spirit of the person to just kind of hang out where they're not supposed to be. So that's how it got started, and I'm just waiting for. So we'll get started in a minute, but I'm just waiting for the person who requested this. Well, through who that came up. So that came up again for Yukon in a private event. Um, and the person was just sharing about where she was going, where she was needing, stepping forward into owning herself and owning her, that her place as a leader uh, for her community. And when she started talking about that, it really came to the forefront that there was so much in uh, around her of dead people, basically, and a lot of grief, a lot of pain, a lot of sorrow. And this is going on worldwide, so we just need to work and clear ourselves of what's inside of us that is contributing to that is our piece in here, and then also helping to clear out the land. The land itself sometimes is steep, like this was really the case in Scotland in the first place, but also in other places that we've cleared since then, of the land being just oozing with distortion. And so as it releases, because this is a process that's releasing, uh, then people when people aren't strong enough to hold themselves in their space, hold their space, and not let that in, that's affecting people too. So, okay, hi Glenna, from Whitehorse, Yukon. So I love that name, Whitehorse. That's just sounds like such a magical name for a place. Thank you for the session today for clearing for Yukon. Yes. So just getting started. So I was just explaining how this all got started and how it came up to do Yukon. So we're going to get started, and people might join in. Okay, Kayla just joined it. So good. And what happens is the people who are I'm going to kind of set up the space, generally speaking, but we'll get into that in a minute. And so there's the space for the land, and then there's the participants. For me, are kind of acting as witnesses for the clearing, but also hi, Michelle, but also um, get a clearing but also, especially the more advanced people, people are used to kind of coming more into their center, their core, their connection to themselves. Um, uh, that helps to create more of an anchor for those who need it in there. So uh, Glennis's husband and I are here for session. Great. Thank you so much for this opportunity. I haven't done these for a bit now, so um, and Melinda's also here. So a lot of good advanced people here. So and whoever else is here. I'm going to take 1 minute to get some water. I didn't get that ready, so just hang tight for a second here. Oops. Yes, I can feel myself as I'm talking a lot, needing that. So, oops. All right. So let's all get settled. We're gonna jump in now. So get settled in your environment. Get settled into where you're sitting. So as we're getting settled in and just really kind of get into your physical body, really getting anchored in there. This is to really keep you in the here and now. You're here and now, your physical environment, your present moment. So my present moment is right here where I am, where I live. And so everybody doing that and just taking a couple deep breaths in. So one kind of the question that kind of came up earlier is, you know, my background is I'm French. I grew up in Michigan. My family's French. Actually, I was born in the States. I'm kind of a cultural mix, cultural mutt. But it's a question sometimes that's get addressed, especially for the first people or the natives, the native people, Aborigines, however they're identified in different regions of the world. But for somebody like me to come in and do a clearing, and I've done clearings like we did India, we did South Africa, we did Germany, we did Austria. So it's a question. It's like, well, okay, this isn't my country, this is my background, this isn't my my world, my culture, everything. And one of the things about that is, especially when you have somebody that comes in from a high level with a pure intention, and with is that that person can come in a neutral way, so can see things and be neutral about what they see, and shift what needs to be seen. And we're at a place in time globally where everything needs to be cleaned out. It's not about gotten rid of. It's about cleaned out, refined to clear out the pain, the memory, the loss, and also the dysfunction. Because I have lived in 5 regions of the world, and nowhere where I have lived and traveled has there not been dysfunction at some level. And maybe at one time, a long time ago, like I lived out in the Pacific Islands for a little bit, running a training program. And, if the lagoon is getting used for a toilet, which was just, that's what they do out there. And that's what they've been doing for thousands of years, for as long as they have lived out, people have lived there, those islands. So that's fine when there's about 20 people. But when you've got 200 people living just in the capital alone of this little atoll island, it starts to be a problem, because it's no longer in balance in harmony with life, with nature, with the humans. So everything gets out of alignment. So my voice has changed. Okay, changed overnight since yesterday. I don't know. Yeah, a lot of upgrades lately. and a lot of deep work with that, the monthly meditation there that some of us are doing. So, all right, so we're all in this place of needing to be cleared, upgraded, refined, brought into a higher state of being. Otherwise, we won't go on. You know, this isn't working as we're seeing the results of a lot of dysfunction for not just modern times, like for eons, and before humans even existed. So this is a long-standing problem. So anyway, so a little explanation there. So taking a nice deep breath in, holding it at the top for as long as you want to, and then just releasing it. And as you release it, just letting yourself relax, come into a deeper state, feeling your body relax, letting your mind relax. And for those who are new, if you see me jerk around or make noises because I'm jerking, that's just the way the shift is registering at that particular moment for me. That's one of the things that happens. And just feeling your whole body just melt into wherever you are, wherever you're sitting. Okay. So yeah, we're in the process of creating, a pure space for this clearing to happen. So there's a lot that's so there's and I see these as spheres. So there's a lot of stuff at the periphery of this sphere. And all of you that I know who are on, you know, coming into that core channel for yourself. Feeling that core connection. And if your spine, it's easier for you to connect with your spine, then that's fine. Connect with your spine. It's going to be the same. And feel that. Just feel that. I want to say the word straight, but it's not straight, but that purity that is at the core of your being. And so that core channel just connecting, or your spine connecting, and they overlap, so it either one is fine, whichever is easiest for you. And if you go down tip of your tailbone area, that channel just drops down. So let's get everybody grounded into where they are. Yeah. Ground you all the way down. Wow, there's a lot. This is going to be really great to do. All the way to the core of the earth. Core of the earth, because that's about anchoring into our physical identity, which is our bodies. Oh, Ilaria just showed up too. So we're just getting started here. Ilaria, thanks for joining. So coming into that deep connection with ourselves first, always, whatever you do, first thing you want to do, even if it's a meeting with your boss or whatever, you know, or your clients or whatever, you know, coming into that, to buy a car, just coming in, taking a deep breath. Maybe you're sitting in the car outside the office or outside the parking lot for that car or whatever store. Take a deep breath in and connect to that core channel. And drop it down to, so it's, I want to get everybody grounded first into the core here. So it's in process here. And put your awareness on that core of that earth. Yep. Drop it down, down, down a little further. And on your next in-breath, pulling up those frequencies, those energies of the earth all the way up that channel, all the way into your bodies. There we go. Yeah. You know, even before you go to bed, this is a really good thing to do. First thing when you wake up. And really feeling yourself in your present environment. Okay. And let's take a deep breath in again from the core all the way through up to the center of the head. There we go. There's a little bit of mental energy, a little too much mental activity for one person in particular, and just letting that go. And so shooting that up on the out breath and then releasing that out. Okay, very nice. All right, I'm going to move everybody out to the outer perimeter of the circle so that you all form a circle around in the space. There you go. Now everybody's kind of in a circle, you know, holding hands if you want, but just forming that circle, that ring. So it's not, I don't see it necessarily as holding hands because, oh, we're all lovey-dovey friends and all that, but it's more, it's creating that circle of container-like, you know, in support for the clearing. Okay. So then just, I'm going to create a separate space within this circle of for Yukon. So that provides the participants some space. So you're not in the middle of it, but you're around it, and in the middle of the circle is where the clearing is happening. Okay, here we go. And as I work, so I will just tell you what I see, and you're welcome to share what you're noticing, what's coming up for you on the chat, because that's part of the process. What you're noticing in the clearing and what you're what's going on for you personally in this process. Just keep coming back to that core channel and holding that space for yourself. So I want to, before I jump in quite yet, I just want to bring in a high level of purity and the timeless. Okay, and as soon as I bring in the timeless, what starts to show up is the natives, the native people. And I apologize if I'm not using a term that's feels comfortable or might not be the appropriate terms. You know, we grow up with these terms and then they get changed, and it's still kind of in our minds, these old terms. But the first people, the ones who not from before, not who've been watching, like the leaders from before, the heads of the groups from before, who are stepping forward. Wow, there's a lot of grief, a lot of sadness from a lot of loss. And all right, my sense is that this is actually pulling in a lot of attention from even all the way down into the United States. So the first people from down into the United States who are actually coming up. So again, the ones who have already transitioned are coming up to partake here in this. So this will probably have some influence down for them as well to clear them out. And right now it's just a tremendous loss that's coming through. So that's starting to build in the circle. I'm just letting this build up to really bring all this forward, and loss is something that we all carry, and not just from this lifetime, but from in our spiritual DNA from previous lives, as well as the lineage stuff, but from previous lives. Um, yeah, that's just building up in this container here. So when we have too much loss within ourselves, we can't you can't function. You can't there's it's like being surrounded by this emotional goo, but this weight that just weighs, and complete disorientation can come up. And I see that affecting a lot of young people, um, a lot of people up there, the young people. I see like the teenagers really impacted by that because they're coming in with a lot more sensitivity to begin with, and also it's also because the veils are thinner, so they're feeling it more, and there's a whole lot of suffering that's just coming through here. So just going to gently release this out. So that's the first layer, and that's starting to clear up. It's almost like the topsoil is getting cleared out. Okay. So it's like when I look at the land, there's this layer of white, and that feels like it's a lot of dead people. The energy of a lot of dead people that are just it's interesting because it feels like it's at a very top layer and might go down deep. So let's see what needs to. There's still a little bit of holding there, so I just want to check in to see why it's not transitioning yet. So what needs to happen for that? Okay, the word acknowledgement comes up. So we do want to acknowledge, first of all, they acknowledge the wrongs, plain and simple. The way things were done was the wrong way to do it. And that needs to be acknowledged. And it's not to bring shame on anyone or guilt, especially talk about anyone present here. But it's to acknowledge that, what happened was wrong. And this part of doing this is to rectify this, to bring closure, and so I will acknowledge for everyone that how history unfolded with people coming in, and the Yukon, you know, that was the gold rush. And there's a lot of stories with the gold rush, you know, and even from before, from the traders, from the hunters, you know, coming in and everybody being in the survival mode of, and just grabbing and being so out of balance and coming in and just bam, 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 doing things, you know, senselessly and completely out of balance. And then everybody becomes out of balance. Everything becomes out of balance. So, and one thing that's popping up is I'm getting structures. So I have to see what those structures are about. The structures are just the way, I mean, it looks like scaffolding kind of thing. So it's that imposition of, well, this is how we're going to just come in here. This is how things are going to get done because we know more. We are more advanced. We are whatever the belief is. We are better. And coming in and setting it so it's like acting like scaffolding, like you see for hangings. I mean, it's kind of weird because crosses, you know, and hangings and this killing off of culture that is done. And again, this is worldwide. This is absolutely worldwide. Done by us over them. You know, that's the bottom line here. So that's a lot of darkness that's starting to come through here. And just shifting this darkness and honoring and in honor, there's a need for honor so that we let go of the pain, honor those who have suffered in this. And honor those who were lost. Honor, it's about honoring the deepest aspect of every human being of that, because we are all pure source at the core. And honoring that by clearing out this dysfunction that came in that was so prevalent in all of us, you know, at these levels of functioning from lack and pain and suffering. So I get the impression that a lot, there's buildings that are built on where, so that's part of the structures also, is like buildings in towns that are built on top of dead people, basically. So it's almost acting as if that's blocking people from transitioning out. So there's a sense of some people being buried alive, you know. Also, in for whatever reason. It makes me think of massacres. You know, I don't know a whole lot. I just know about Wounded Knee, for example, is pretty well known in the States and for Americans. But that kind of grave stuff. So it might not have been a lot of people, but it doesn't matter. One person, that's enough. That's too much. So clearing out these layers. I feel like I'm just digging this hole. It's getting deeper and clearing out more pain, more suffering. I'm just going to leave it at the word suffering because it's just so distorted. So another very deep layer of pain and suffering. And the whole land, so it has got, the land meaning nature has gotten so distorted with that. This area, what I'm seeing is that where it's like there's this big hole of distortion in the south part of the Yukon. Further north is better, but it's sort of like more towards the center and just it's like this big gaping hole that's just infested. It's a little bit, it's better up north. So this is this huge thing that we're clearing out. So everybody take a nice deep breath in. Remember, you're in your own kind of little viewing gallery. So you're not in the middle of this. You're at the perimeters of this in your own gallery. So just take a deep breath into that core, your core, connecting down to the earth. There we go. Okay. Yeah. So that's helping. So this is really important for you guys to do this because I can see that it just kind of it lends that extra support of presence. Yeah. This is a really interesting clearing because I feel like I take something out and this hole just gets deeper and deeper and deeper. So kind of makes me go, okay, so how can we get to this core faster? Because we could be here for eternity just trying to clear this out. So a hope. Okay. So what I'm going to have you guys do, you're going to all participate with me. I just like to do it with everybody participating because you benefit that way too. So really coming into your core channel and connecting with yourself and coming into your chest area or maybe your solar plexus. It could be anywhere, but especially, more so. But if there's another area that you're really drawn to, come into your core and let yourself just feel that essence of hope. It's sort of like the hope got just buried under all these distortions. Wow, and that's really, really cool to see. So I'll describe this in a minute. But let's all just keep focusing on just feeling that hope inside. So it's sort of like there's this big, huge dumping ground hole, and below all that, and I tuned in. So when I asked, kind of went to that, asked, what where's the core here? It's like getting to hope, and hope has been so deeply buried for so many people. Um, that it's like you can take all this stuff out, but if you can't get to the hope, it's just this bottomless pit where you're just clearing out. So as we all focus on bringing that hope up, it's like it's raising up that hole. So it's like all of a sudden all the distortions, instead of being a bottomless pit, it's actually filling up. And in the process of shifting and opening up, coming to the surface and clearing out. So that's clearing a lot more distortions. Okay, and what's starting to come through now, so this is a really good feeling to have, is that timeless is starting to come in. So you might see if you can feel that for yourself. As you feel that hope within yourself, feel that space of the timeless just opening up. And I have the image of this area, and what came up with this hope is there's a woman, and holding that space, holding herself in that space of holding that vision for her people. And rising above all the others. So there, just that sense of that new, there's a new way that's starting to come through. So Glenna, I know that you connect up into this being the leader here. So not saying you're the only one, but you are an important person in this. In this process of bringing the new, and as you really come into that place for yourself of owning yourself and only owning who you are beyond all the distortions that have come up over time, like they have for all of us. Holding that space. So what I say here is really applies to all of us, as we are all leaders and stepping forward and holding, coming in that place of really owning ourselves and holding strong and bringing purity in all that we are and all that we do. So whatever traditions that we want to be in, that we want to bring forward, that we want to do, that we want to participate in, is coming from that place. So it's not what we do, but it's how we do something. So coming from that place of purity within ourselves, and that everything that we do brings forth that purity to everyone. Okay. So as that, so we're going to keep working on this because this is what's happening is that that's helping to make the ancestors rise up, um, and wake up from a stupor, kind of thing. Even, I mean, talk about people who are passed on, dead people, but it's like the the way they died was too enmeshed in distortion. Again, it's that place of where people are coming from, not what we're doing. Uh, and so they're kind of in that stupor. So they're in the process of you know, I'm seeing all these forms rising up and just kind of covered. I mean, it looks like goo, but it's not. It's like melting off, you know. So kind of this awakening that's happening. Everybody take a nice deep breath in from the core of the earth. Feel that brilliance coming up from the earth, filling you up. And really coming into that purity of this space. You know, it's interesting because my sense is that the dead that I'm seeing don't want to leave yet. They want to be able to participate in moving forward. So I have to sit with that one a little bit because my instant reaction is kind of like, well, yeah, this is kind of the space of the living, but it is true that we're kind of starting to have this overlap, this merging of the spaces of those the physical living with the space of the dead. So there's the veil has got really thin and it's kind of just merging. So I'm going to see if there's a way to do that so that it's done properly for everyone involved. So it's beneficial. It doesn't distort anybody because what does happen is that there's a lot of dead people that are just stuck and wandering around in areas. I mean, that's really has a negative impact with people who are living when they can't hold their space. So it gets into a lot of problems, and we've seen this worldwide with drug, physical and sexual abuse, you know, suicides, a lot of negative stuff like that. So want to find a way that, but it's like they want to stay, they want to help, they want to provide support because they want that change to come through in the culture, uh, in the people, in the culture. So very strong um, connection in the cultural line with the ancestors. So let's all take a nice deep breath in, coming into your core, feeling that brilliance in everyone, and it's like creating that circle of light as you do that. So it looks very nice. So let's see what we can do for the ancestors here. Okay. Um, so we're having a little bit of a conversation here. Um, and so, not in words, but the essence of that is to just help them to actually shift to a little higher level, so that they have. So it's like both parties. We've got the dead and the living. You know, both parties, both sides are in their own space, and in uh, in a pure state for themselves, so that it doesn't so that the ancestors can help those who are living in a better way and show them, give them that guidance from a higher perspective. So it's sort of like shifting to higher state of being, whether you're dead or alive, um, instead of like separating everybody out completely, which was what was tried to do before. So yeah, that's why we can't do it that way. Okay. So let me go in and just move everything up to a higher state of being. So give me a minute for this. So I'm kind of gently kind of shifting the level up a little bit. And that's causing a lot of stuff like entities kind of shifting out. So that's kind of, so that's good. That's a good clearing. Things that, oogie boogies, I call them, but energies that aren't really productive. And so this isn't like the ancestors. This isn't like dead people. This is like something else that just kind of came in, or also gets formed by the collective. The human consciousness collective. Um, that's a whole other discussion, but okay, so that's slowly rising up, so getting to a better level. So just helping everybody, everything and everybody. So the land, and also the people, and the culture, the cultures, I should say. At this point, it's the cultures. Um, so there's a lightness that's starting to come through. A little bit of a little bit more on the mental side. So I want to bring that to balance, but that's not necessarily a bad thing, but because that can be like people talking and having conversations and interacting at the intellect level, the mind, and sharing ideas, and that can be the mental level. But just to bring that into balance so that it doesn't take over, because that's sort of how it got out of balance in the first place. You come in with these ideas, and it's like we're just going to plow through here and with these ideas. Um, so wanting to bring that into better balance here. Yeah, so that's bringing to the surface actually some deeper um, attitudes. Um, it's kind of bringing up an image of like writing. or no, not writing, demonstrations, that's better. But a lot of anger. So that's good to get that out instead of holding that. And sometimes we can grow up and we can be taught that we have to be good, we have to get along, that we have to forgive, that, these kinds of things. And then there can be a lot of anger, but that anger is not coming up. And so it's just festering inside. So, but bringing that to a balance. So expressing to release, but not a release and then move on, move into a better place instead of just expressing. It comes out, but then it's always kind of perpetuating itself in that state of just anger. So really releasing it. The word responsibility comes up. So in this higher state, people also need to step up and be responsible for themselves and take responsibility for their actions and who they are and what they do and how they live life. So we can't fall back on, well, it happened to, this is what happened to my ancestors. This is what happened to my family. And ancestors, my ancestors, whoever, this is what happened to, and so this is why I'm feeling that way. I mean, yeah, PTSD gets passed down through the genetics, but we have to come into owning ourselves and owning that and shifting out of that. It's like, okay, the buck stops here, and it's like, I can't be this way. I've got to step in and own myself. So bringing that through, opening that door for that, because that's part of the healing that needs to happen here for all of us, So that's, it's like when I look at the map now, it's like it's getting brighter. There's some stuff up there that's almost feels like it's more in Alaska. Of course, these clearings don't necessarily stay within the boundaries, within the human boundaries here of the map. That's a whole thing up there. That's with Alaska. But it's much brighter now. So everybody's being real quiet on this clearing there. So again, if people want to post anything, you're welcome to. It's like this gentle waking up and clearing that's happening here. So starting to feel more lightness and more joy that's coming through here. Lightness of being. I'll keep it at lightness of being, but yeah. So with the lightness of being comes more ease of doing. And it opens up to that desire to move forward, to do positive, to do something positive, to move in a positive direction. And so to be able to do that, with that lightness of being, um, it's not hope. I'm not finding the word, but it's bringing through. I can't find the word, but this. Well, I'm only thinking of the French word, volonté. Um, um, kind of like the desire, but the motivation to, okay, let's do this. When things don't feel so, when there's that lightness of being, then any task will feel like, okay, it's doable. So that feeling. And there's still some stuckness and some people. It's interesting because it looks like they've turned to iron, um, and so they're stuck. So there's just some people we won't be able to move, and we have to just kind of keep moving. And as we keep moving forward in evolving and moving into a higher state of being, eventually their spirits will kind of like, wait a minute, and wake up. We can't sit and wait for them. Um, we have to keep moving forward as leaders, and all of us here on this call are leaders in some shape or form. It's going to show up differently. We're going to have different things that we're doing as leaders, but in life, but being leaders in the sense that we're coming into our own and owning ourselves and holding our space and coming into that purity of being and being that example, holding our space, being that, holding that purity of our beings, cleaning ourselves out of all this ancient garbage that we have, and stepping into the new and a higher state of being. That's how we're leaders. So not necessarily leaders in the usual human sense of being head of a company or being mayor or whatever. That could be too, but that's the true leadership that everybody needs right now, is purifying ourselves, coming into our being, and showing, holding our space and showing, being that light, guiding light, that way for others. And yeah, people's families waking up that way. So and Glenna, my sense is that your sons are, it's kind of clicking in the background, so it might not be showing in real life yet, but at spirit level, it's kind of, there's something that's registering there for them. So it's being noticed at spirit level, just because, just letting you know in case that's not really clear for you. And that's part of the hard thing with this work, is that it can be happening at spirit level, but at the human level, at what we deal every day, it's not quite showing up yet. But it's like there's a pause that's kind of like, wait a minute, kind of thing. So I just want to kind of create a little bit more space between the living and the dead, just to, everybody can have their own space. You can support each other and show the way, give guidance, but we can also all stand in our own space. So it's interesting because it's like there's two layers. There's kind of the human layer, human level, living level, and then up above, just kind of bringing that up a little bit for at the spirit level, the dead. And I say the dead just because they're spirit, but they're not living anymore. They're not in physical form anymore. So that's what I mean by the dead. Yeah, and then they're not stuck in, I see that layer, upper layer, and it's sort of like living on the land, and that connection with the land and nature is much stronger there than a lower level. So that's a nice kind of guiding source, because we all do need to have that connection with nature and have that guidance from nature, because nature is about as pure as we can get here. Um, and so that's a real nice place to go. And then in the lower levels, there's more of the buildings, the streets, the cars, all that, especially down in the lower level, lower part of Yukon. Yeah, okay, so there's a little bit more on the north there, because one of the things that as I say that, so down, bringing that separation a little bit up the north, unfortunately unfortunately for humans, because we're not adapting, and of course animals are going through this, and it's heartbreaking, because we're seeing that change in weather. Um, so there's a change that's happening in the land on the upper side, near the north, on the North Pole side. Uh, and there's something that's in the process of dying off up there. Um, so it's not my place to change that, but I just want to bring some ease to the land for whatever it needs to do to come into balance with the earth. Uh, because yeah, there's some, just to bring ease to that process, and for humans to just kind of, I almost want to say, stay out of that process, because humans want to have things happen a certain way. And that's kind of been the best thing for nature in the past few months, is that humans have had to stay out of the way because they were just, they were sent home. And I don't know, it's so nature was able to kind of, okay, just let us do our own thing here. So it's that piece of that interference. So not necessarily ease with the process, but that human interference piece up there. Yeah. There's a beautiful movie out called The Year Earth Changed, about all the changes in nature that have taken around the globe, because people were staying at home. Okay. And nature kind of having a break from humans and coming back, hopefully, in a good way, in a lasting way, like the turtles, for example, among many others, the cheetahs. Okay, everybody take a nice deep breath in. We're going a little past time, but we gotta work till the end here, till it's at a better place. So nice deep breath in, dropping down, that connection to the core of the earth. And coming into that purity of your being, that core connection. coming into that, or not coming, but that stillness, so that timeless coming forward. Allowing yourself to be immersed in that. And just clearing out all, letting everything else just drop away. So okay, very nice. Very different clearing than all the other ones. And kind of picking up the trash. It also feels like it's in a place of just letting the ancestors be the guides to at a certain level. Instead of me doing all the clearing, it's kind of giving a baseline and participating as in stepping forward as kind of a goodwill gesture in some ways, if you want. And everything's just kind of getting settled back in now. It's like shifting, everything kind of shifting to a little bit higher level. So it's like I see it 2 levels. It's like this is the higher level where it kind of brought it all, and then all the lower level stuff down below. So giving that support for that transition that we're all in the process of doing, of stepping into a higher state globally. Okay. All right, so that feels like this is the place to end. So everybody take a nice deep breath in. There's a lot of restructuring that's happening. So now it's coming up kind of at that spirit level restructuring, which I see at spirit level kind of in this bluish white, whitish blue light. And I'm seeing that happening. Now. All right, so everybody take a nice deep breath in. Been a very quiet clearing here, so feeling that stillness. Feeling that purity within you. Feeling your connection to the earth, dropping that down all the way down to the earth. Bringing that back up. Feeling that purity within you. Then when you feel ready, opening your eyes, feeling your environment, being aware of being present in your environment, and present with that purity in your physical environment. It's not one or the other, they're there at the same time. And so just feeling that at the same time. Okay. And just kind of taking a moment to reorient yourself to your space. So that takes that's this clearing for Yukon, at least as far as this time what I'm here for, what we all participated in for today. So if you have any questions or any comments, any questions, any thoughts before we end, I'll just wait a few moments to see if anybody wants to share anything. Okay, so I guess okay. So nobody has anything they want to share. So that's fine. That's fine too. So thank you all for joining, and thank you, Glenna and Joe, for your request. There's a sense of strength in the area now. Okay, good. Yeah, and thank you so much, Marianne and group. Yeah, thank you, Glenna. So if you yeah, feel free, and whether it's now or later, if you notice anything, feel free to share that later. Um, but kind of, yeah, that strength of that area, it's just a very quiet, yeah, there's a lot going on the global level, yes. So that, that's probably also why it was kind of a different clearing, because last time I did one was, I think in February, I can't remember, but so globally, we were at a very different place back then than we are now. So, but there is kind of that stillness there, and I like that word strength. Yeah, there's a stability there a little bit more now. So I feel so much lighter now. It was a heavy load to carry. Oh God, yeah, good. That's good. That's really important because so I'm glad to hear that because that will help you to be that leader and that leader in the sense of holding, being clear and holding your space, holding that yourself centered and strong, like we all are. So I'm glad that that helped you. Um, uh, yeah, so you're responsible. So I'm not responsible, and we're all responsible just for ourselves, for cleaning ourselves, and that's it. We're not responsible for other people cleaning. Everybody's got to step up to the plate here and take that responsibility for themselves. So yeah, and that responsible. So that's a good point. Also, in the sense, we're at a place in history where there's there's this history that's coming up. The friend who I live with, she's from um, not Savannah, Charleston. And so somewhere in a family line there, somebody owned slaves. I mean, that's just the history that we have. That's it. We can't get around that. And she can't be held responsible for somebody down her line. Now, so that piece kind of came up before. It's about, you know, honoring, showing respect, acknowledging, the acknowledgement of what happened. And thank you for the feedback on my two boys. Yeah, yeah. So you might not quite see it right away, but it's kind of there's at spirit level. There's a little kind of the wheels are starting to turn there, so that's good. But coming back is we can't be held accountable for something that we did not do. We all are inheriting this. So we can't say, well, it's you, it's us, it's them, it's whatever. We're all in it together at this point. We're all part of this global picture, and we are all connected. So we have to acknowledge what happened, but we can't go into what I call this bleeding heart attitude. It's like, oh God, I'm so sorry. Carry this and get into this carrying the burden, and taking responsibility. We take care responsibility for ourselves and for stepping into the new and acting from that higher state of being, that purity. And at that higher levels, at those higher levels and at the higher consciousness, uh, you know, it's stepping out of that place of abuse and control. And, when we are in a higher state, it just doesn't make sense to do anything that is harmful to anyone, including ourselves. So it just doesn't compute. It just like, it doesn't make sense. So you can't think of it. So let's move into that direction. So again, thank you all for showing up, and we'll see next time. These are just by request at this point. So it was kind of nice to do this one. Haven't done that in a long time. So have a good rest of your evening or your afternoon, your day, wherever you are. And we'll see you around. We'll see you in the ethers, and we'll see you wherever the next time is. We cannot be blamed and continue to be victims anymore. Yes, exactly. So it's about stepping out of that and owning, coming true sovereigns of ourselves. So yeah, getting out of all those habits. So many thanks to everybody. Thank you, Glenna, for the request, and you're welcome. I'm glad I could offer this for you, and the Yukon, your people, and all the people up there. So until next time, we'll see you in the ethers, and off we go.